Hey Kaylee, well, I'm glad you're getting some of your work posted. As you know, we're really getting close to the end of the class. 2 more drafts to go. So I like the progress you're making, though I just am not seeing my past suggestions being incorporated. You really do need to use layer masks for this. And since I have Dana's open right here, or Aaron's open, layer masks look like this. And, you know, they look like this little icon. This is the same process you did in week 3 book lesson. So when I turn this off, see how you can see all the background to the object? And the reason why you use layer masks is because they're non-destructive. So if you go too far, you can always just go right back into the mask, right? And, you know, once you create these, it's like I say, it's the same process. You know, so once you create these layer masks, you can edit them. So it's, you know, it's just really, really important to get that part, organized. So just to quickly go over this technique, I just imported a flower because you're kind of doing the flower thing. So you've got the layer here, and you can right click and do it, or you can just hit this icon down here that says layer mask, and there's the layers, right? So basically what you do in layer masks, it's pretty basic, and this is really how you should always this is the technique to always extract backgrounds. Just really important to do it this way. So basically, you go to the brush, and you use black and white. So you're actually painting. Make sure your mask is selected, and you can just see what it does. Okay, here's black, and so whoops. So when you paint with black, it removes the layer masks. And again, you have to play with the brushes because, I don't know, I just use a hard edge brush here. So as you can see, the editing is done in the mask. So if you make a mistake, you can go back into the mask. You're not really losing anything. So for big areas like this, you can just use a really big brush, and I just use my brackets to make it bigger, and then you can just really get rid of a lot of it just really quick. And I could have done this before. That's usually what I do. But again, you can just get rid of the big parts. There's a lot of different techniques for this, but since we're so late in the quarter, in the term, that I'm just going to show you this quick and dirty way, and I hope you do it, because I don't want you to lose so many points on this. So then then I would just make the brush smaller, and you can really zoom in for the details, and there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm just showing you the really easy way. And then you could just go, this is kind of a big brush, then you can just go in and just go and take, just paint it out pretty much. And if you make a mistake, you just switch. I mean, let's say I make a mistake. Oh, whoops. Then I just switch it to white, and then white lets you paint it back in. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Whoops, I'm still on white. So I hope that makes sense. You can use the magic wand tool, but if you look, I just tried it, and look what it did. It just got rid of too much stuff. So I'm just going to Command Z to bring it back, or edit, step backward. Yeah, because it just takes out too much. You could, you can try it with, with constrained proportions. But anyway, so this is basically how you do it. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail, about, further detail on it. But again, just, this technique definitely has to be used. Whoops, shoot. And again, you can just quick and dirty it. And then once you get where you need the detail, that's when that's when you have to go with a smaller brush. And like I said, there's so many other techniques to mask. And if you go through the book lesson, they show you a whole bunch of them. But this is, you know, this is the basic easy one. So you just have to go in and then refine it. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. So now if I go in now and here, there's my mask, right? I'll just disable this. And then you can see everything's there, right? So if I make a mistake, it's in the mask. Okay, so let's look back at yours really quick. Need those masks, really important. So a few things here. The text needs a lot of work. Put each word on a different layer. And again, have a look, you know, at some of, you know, I know I've showed you these before. Have a look at what some of these, you know, past students have done, you know, with how they made the text stand out. You need to make the caricature quite a bit bigger. So if you put the text, a different word on each line, then you can, you know, use different fonts. You can use different strokes. You know, layer styles. I mean, I know you're behind, so you probably have to review some of this. Again, each letter is on a different, you know, different layer. So each word, because then you can really play around with it, right? You have a lot of control. So another thing is, I would suggest that you go into dafont.com. I thought I had it open. Okay, so these are really easy to download and install. You might want to go with something that's kind of a little bit looser, but don't get it too fancy. But you know, something like that would work with your theme. A fatter one is easier to read. So again, this is not, you can't read that, but there's so many other ones too. There's so many really nice sans serifs you can use, but you might want to use something kind of curvy because you do have, you know, you do, not any of these, you can't read those. You do have, you know, you kind of have a more feminine kind of theme. So you might want to go, but just make sure it's not too stylized because that, you know, that's hard to read. And it's also, you know, just, let's see, you know, there's just so many of them. So there's like 30 pages, you know, so something that's just got some nice curves and isn't too blocky but not really thin. I would do that. So in terms, so that's really important that you get that taken care of. Never use red on blue. It's really hard on the eyes. So in terms of your background, the background's pretty strong. You also need to really make the caricature a lot bigger. It's not about the, you know, it's really not about the, what's this? It's not about the background and the text. It's about the caricature. So I'm going to put these in a folder so I can easily move them, right? So the caricature needs to be bigger. So I'm just going to select all of these and really make it bigger because just really can't see it. I think I missed something because the head's kind of just floating. It's very vertical, so it's kind of hard there. Oh, is that it? Oh yeah, it is. Huh? Shoot. That needs to be bigger too, then. That's the really nice thing about having, you know, having all of the objects inside of this folder. And I'm going to try to drag it in there. There it goes. So in terms of some variety, it's very static. You've got a lot of white in your masks too, so you may really want to work with, you know, playing with some of these elements. I don't know why you're not turning off. Well, you may want to work on, you know, rotating. I don't know why they're not, there it is. You know, and playing with the sizes just because, you know, it'll just create some variety. I'm going to make it bigger. You know, because you don't want it to look static. I'm actually going to turn the background off. You really don't want it to look super static. You know, so even something, you know, like that, playing around with it. You know, you could add more. I mean, if you want to pass the class, you know, you could add more objects. You don't even really have enough objects. You have 1, 2, and 3. So even that alone is going to be, you know, really not good for the grade. So yeah, I would just continue working with this. And you know, when I zoom into, as I mentioned this before, this is really not high quality. Can you see the difference between, can you see the difference between this and this? This is so much higher quality. Since you have to do your image masks, I would get a higher quality image for that, because you know, all of these things are amounting to a lot of points lost. And you know, I am a little bit concerned about your grade. So let's just look here at the background and ways to make, you know, because you can't really see the caricature, the background's too strong. So I would see if, I would try to work with the background and maybe make it a little bit bigger so we get rid of that tree there. Because then it's going to give us a little bit more negative space. Or you can just keep the tree like that or something. You know, or you can just look for a simpler, you know, background too. But that gives a little bit more negative space. So, you know, there's just a lot of things you can do, but you know, like I say, it really takes the time, and you're pretty behind, quite honestly. So, so other things to make the caricature, you know, stand out more is to work with making the background darker. So you can go in and you can go into the adjustments here and try hue and saturation. You know, you could lower the saturation, because even there now it allows the caricature to stand out because the colors are so bright. I would make it darker. So you can even see there it's starting to stand out. But again, I would find a background that doesn't have all this trees and stuff. I would go with flowers and clouds and so on. And be sure to look at my post about how to search Google for images. Okay, so here I am here. So I put meadow background. Background will give you larger files. I'm going to say images. And, you know, something like this is simpler. Then I'm going to click the settings, click the tools, and I'm going to say larger than 4 megapixels, because then you're going to have a big enough thing. Same as when you improve your flowers. They really need to be, you know, just a lot higher quality. Now even see, this is really strong in colors, right? You want to kind of get something that's not, you know, super strong. You know, this is probably pretty good because it's not that strong. This, you could mute it. You know, something like this is not that strong either. Whenever you get really bright, oh God. Whenever you get a really bright color, it ends up being hard to, you know, put the caricature in it. So, I don't know, here's more flowers. You know, you could lower the saturation on this, and this could work. I don't know. You can just try it, right? Let me see. Even though that one's probably... Yeah, I don't know if you need a bunch more flowers, to be honest. You know, this one's... No, that has a watermark. You can't use anything with a watermark. And like I say, you don't want to choose a really pretty background. You want to choose something that your caricature will fit into. So I'm just going to look at this one. I know this is long, but I think you need a lot of help at this point, and I really want to see you get through this class. So I'm going to say save image as, and then it's going to just save it. So now I'm just going to open it with Photoshop. And there it is. So then, you just get it into your, thing. And the way I do it is I just use the Move tool, and then I just drag it over. So again, it might be too small in size, but I just want to illustrate the difference of having, a background that has more negative space. So again, just kind of work with it and just see what looks the best. And then still, it's too strong, right? It's still too strong. But you do have a lot of really great space for the, for the text. But again, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to the hue and saturation again, and then I'm going to lower the saturation, right? Because the lower saturation will make make your color stand out more. And then I'm going to darken it. So now it's starting to stand out a little bit more, right? It's just a start, but again, you can just see that it's standing out more. Other things you can do, are use like layer styles. I know I've gone over. I hope you listened to this. Click your layer, then go to layer at the top and say layer style, and just say something like outer glow. I wouldn't use red. I'd probably use maybe a yellow or something. No, maybe not. Something like a light orange or something. Something pretty light, or maybe like a really light pink. And then you work with the layer styles again, right? And you can see that really does work to make that flower part stand out from the background. You don't want to overkill it because it looks cheesy. Just play with these controls because, so even something like that, even something like that works to make it stand out a little bit. You can turn it off and see the difference. Okay, so anyway, that's enough. I would also suggest a cast shadow. And again, if you go up in the, I'm over here in the threads that you posted to. Whoops, shoot. Cast shadow tutorial, and it's really easy. So I would suggest doing that. Also, I don't think you look at the rubrics, because all of the stuff in the gradebook are all these rubrics that everything needs to be met on them. So very, very important that you read this stuff. Okay, so anyway, I'm going on too long, but let me know if you have any questions. I do hope you get through the class okay, and I'm on Google Hangouts all the time if you want some help with anything. So, but you really do have a lot of work to do, so I would get with it. Okay.